Disclaimer, not all this information may be 100% correct, but I did the best I could to research and put all of this together. If I'm incorrect, please feel free to correct me in the comments. Just make sure you're not being, an intolerant person about it, and you're not just trash talking, be like, oh, you're so stupid. I'll put annotations on screen to correct anything I may have gotten wrong. Also, this video contains a simplified history, so many events may not be in this video. Yes, I'm very aware that I'm wearing a headset even though I'm not in front of a computer. Because shut up. Welcome to The World Explained. I'm your host, Daniel Taylor, and today I'm starting a little bit of a new series. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going in the order of every country in the world from the newest to the oldest, and just kind of going through a basic, simplified history of each one. I'm not going to make it like lecture-like. I'm going to try and put in some jokes and stuff, but... Okay, now before everyone gets all offended because I'm doing countries I don't like or whatever, I'm doing every country recognized by the United Nations. I figure that's probably the best way to do it. Like right now I'm going to get a bunch of Kosovan and Palestinian hate comments. Okay, in today's country, we're doing South Sudan, the newest country on the planet. Okay, so the history of South Sudan goes back to 1955. Yes, that's right, a country that came into existence in 2011 has a history going back to 1955. South Sudan peacefully gained its independence in 2011 from a referendum earlier that year. But the history of South Sudan actually goes back before the regular country of Sudan was even its own country. It's a little strange. Okay, well back during this time, it was part of the British Empire. You know, that thing that ruled a fourth of the world. Okay, so whenever South Sudan was under the British rule and everything, the Europeans were kind of bad at drawing border lines, so Sudan ended up being largely Muslim in the north and Christian in the south, which isn't a good recipe for peace. Anyana, a militia group in the south of Sudan, knew that the area was about to get independence, but they didn't know what exactly was going to go on, and they wanted either greater autonomy under the Sudanese government that was about to take place, or they wanted a complete independence. So they started fighting, which led to the first Sudanese Civil War, which started before it was its own country. This doesn't make any sense, I'm not gonna lie. Now, the Anyana group is mainly a Christian group based out of Juba in the south, and they wanted just not to be part of the Muslim north. I mean, it's whatever in Africa, that's kind of a reason to split off. In Europe and like Bosnia and stuff, they're able to deal with it, but Africa is a little unstable. We'll put it that way. Okay, after the Civil War lasted 17 years. 17 years, that's a long time for a civil war. South Sudan managed to gain autonomous status within Sudan. South Sudan and Sudan, that's going to get a little confusing. In 1983, Sudan elected a new president who declared Sharia law and took away the South's autonomous status, and it pissed them off. They almost immediately rebelled. Good job. This led to the Second Civil War, where the SPLA, I don't remember what it stands for, but it's like Sudanese Liberation Movement or something like that. It was based out of the South. They were Christian. They wanted no more Sharia law, so they pretty much, started the Second Civil War. But then it split under ethnic lines. SPLA was everyone unified and happy, but then people got mad because some people were Newers and some people were Nasirs, so the Nasirs broke off and made their own group, and then they started fighting each other. Kind of counterproductive, really. So this complex thing of two groups fighting each other, fighting Sudan, it's a big complex Second Civil War thing, went from 1983 until 2005. It was one of the longest civil wars in all of human existence. In 2005, Sudan had had enough, and they drew up a treaty giving the autonomous status back to South Sudan. In early 2011, to make sure nothing flared up again, Sudan managed to cooperate whenever the UN decided to hold a referendum to see if South Sudan wanted independence, which they did by like a 99% landslide. On July 9th, 2011, South Sudan declared its independence and joined the UN and the African Union like not even 2 weeks later. I mean, that's very fast recognition for pretty much any country. However, despite all this, there was still one big issue on the table: oil. Sudan managed to run an oil operation throughout pretty much the entire civil war, and that didn't exactly make the fighting any easier. So most of the oil sat in northern South Sudan, pretty much on the border with regular Sudan, but Sudan had all the oil equipment to go into the south to get it, but they couldn't do it because it was in the south, and it just led to this state where there's oil, no one could get to it, no one was happy. Now this leads to kind of another strange situation because everyone figured everything was all figured out whenever the two countries split, but I guess not. I mean, oil and religion are the root of all wars, and oil and religion are going to cause wars in Sudan, okay? And at this point, Sudan wanted their oil back, so they pretty much just attacked South Sudan to get it back. So basically, it went down like this. Sudan bombed an oil field area in South Sudan, and in turn, South Sudan went over and took up an oil field in regular Sudan, and then there were some more skirmishes, and they eventually realized they can't keep fighting forever. They just need to put a stop to it once and for all. So eventually, both sides just settled down. They drew up a treaty. They figured out what was going on as far as the oil. I don't really think it ever worked out that efficiently, though. And remember that whole newer Nasir conflict thing? Yeah, that was still going on literally the entire time that they were independent. It's still going on to this day. And it doesn't help that the president was a Nasir and the vice president was a newer. And of course, when the vice president got out of office, he tried to take over the government, and that just made things worse, and now pretty much the Nasirs and Newers are fighting over control of South Sudan. Good job, guys. So not only are the Nasirs and the Newers having issues with each other, but there's also a bunch of other smaller groups also trying to take control. Is just a mess. And due to this conflict going on in South Sudan with no end in sight, many sources have said that there's likely to be a full-scale genocide on both sides, and possibly just a failed state. Well, and that's where South Sudan is today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I plan on doing more like this in the future. I'm Daniel, this is The World Explained, and I'll see you all next time.